Good morning, my dear students. So, as in the previous classes, we have completed our chapter number 10, and for the upcoming second periodic exam, your portion is chapter number 7, 8, and 9. For the second periodic exam, your portion is chapter number 7, 8, and 9. So, prepare for that. And today, we are going to start our new chapter, that is chapter number 11, whose value is, that is chapter number 11. Name of the chapter is positive attitude and value is be hopeful. So my dear student, in a person's life, a person should have, for having a bright future, a person should have hope. What is a hope? Hope is the expectation of a bright future and a spike of light. It is a feeling where people can expand his possibilities without thinking about his limitation that may block his way. It pushes us from the bondage and give us a boundless sky where we can feel where we can feel free and we can move and cross our limitation as we want. With a hopeful mind, we can care ourselves and others. A hopeful person always believes in himself and his action, and this helps to him to succeed in his life. Thus, he keeps the flame of hope alive himself all the time. There's a beautiful note from the Grandpa Diary. Just we are going to see that. The Grandpa Diary. The sound of a motor car disturbed me. I looked out of a window without thinking my grandson has come. George, my grandson is 25 years old now, but for me he is just a small child who has running nose and who comes to me to clarify all his doubt. So this story is narrated by a grandfather who is traveling with his who was sitting at his home and just peeking out of his window, and one of his grandson came to him who was 25 years old, but for a grandfather the child was still a baby for the grandfather. The name of the son was George. George was very fond of listening to story. He never felt bored even when I narrated the same story over and over again. But whenever he sat for his studies, sleep overpowered him, and soon he started snoring on his table itself. From his childhood, he had an attractive personality, dark complexion, and a good physique. He was cheerful and playful. He loved teasing children of his own age. So this is, now the grandpa says about the George that the George was very fond of listening the stories, and whenever he used to study, he used to sleep on his table itself. George had a very beautiful physique, attractive personality, and a dark complexion. He used to be cheerful and playful and used to tease the children of his age. Sometime he pulled the ears of his neighborhood friend and they came to me complaining about the George. I used to call him and scold him in front of his friend. Sometimes I threatened him that I will not tell him the story if he continued playing his pranks. Here in this, he used to promise me that he would never do that again. But after a few hours, he used to forget all his promise and continues with his mischievous behavior. So whenever people used to come to grandpa for complaining about the George, the grandfather used to scold the George and sometimes threaten him that he will not tell him the story. The George used to feel sorry and promise grandpa that he will not repeat the mistakes, but the next day he used to repeat that again after some time. Sometime his mother beat him for quarreling with his younger sisters. He used to cry. Hearing him cry, I used to rush for his rescue and say a few words in his favors. As a result, his mother used to say, Dad, your love is spoiling this child. He always fight with other children. I know he was very naughty, but still always spoke in his favor. Oh, George is only a child, and that it is this stage, all children are naughty. They fight with every now and then, but the next moment they become our friends again. Listening to me, she used to grumble and go back in her room with George. When later I threatened George again, he used to throw his arms through my neck and stammer, Grandpa, God promise I will never fight with anyone again. So what does the George used to do? George used to quarrel with his younger sister, and this and on hearing this, his mother used to scold the George, and George used to cry. And when George used to cry, the grandma, the grandpa always come and saves the George by saying that all the children of the George age used to make do the pranks and fight with everyone, and soon they become the friend also. On listening this mama used to take the George and move back into the room. And when later the George comes to the grandpa, so what happens? Grand grandpa scolds the George, and George used to promise that he will not do the things again. His innocence made me smile. Suddenly, my eyes fell upon the storybook lying on my bed. I looked at its page. It was crumpled badly. Probably I had slept on it the whole night. I began to smile at myself. Despite being about 70 years of age, I loved reading the storybooks of the children. Interesting. Probably old age is an incarnation of a child. Like children's, even I love to fly kites, catch butterfly, etc. So the George innocence used to make the grandfather smile. One day when grandpa waked up, he saw that there was a storybook lying on his bed, and it was badly crumpled. Might he grandpa slept on it, and the grandpa started thinking that the grandparents or the old persons are just like the children's. One day I saw a little girl planting a sapling. This reminded me of the environment day when George was a child. I was planting a little sapling when George asked me, Grandpa, what are you planting? Why are you planting a tree? So one of the environment day, Grandpa was planting a tree. A little girl was planting a tree. On seeing this, Grandpa remembered that on environment day also, Grandpa also used to plant the tree. And one day the George came to him and asked, Grandpa, why are you planting a tree? Because it is environment day today, I replied, what does environment day mean, Grandpa? He asked, it means that all the things around us such as trees, animal, plants, soil, water and air are the part of environment. They are gift with which nature us has blessed us, I replied. So grandpa explained about the environment day that on this day we used to thank the environment for providing us the various resources like plant, animal, air, soil, trees, such as etc. But you have planted only a tree. What about animals? I was glad that George was interested. I replied, George, animals can take care of themselves, whereas we have to take care of the plants and trees. They give us pure air to breathe and food to eat. We also get things like wood, medicines, flowers, oils, and many more useful things from the trees. Therefore, we should plant a tree. They are the plants of our hope. Grandpa, what are the plants of hope? Asked George. So George asked, Grandpa, you have planted only one tree, and what about the animals? Who will take care of the animals? So grandfather replied, George, animal can take care of their own, but plants need to be taken care of. As plant provide us many products like flowers, oil, medicines, wood, pure air, etc. Therefore, we should plant trees and take care of themselves because trees are the plant of hope. Plant of hope, the George asked, what is it? I replied, George, it means that we should have hope. With a hopeful mind, we can take care of ourselves as well as the other. By keeping this plant of love and peace alive forever. So the grandpa replied that the George, we should have hope in within us ourselves. We should have a hopeful mind and we should take care of ourselves as well as others. By keeping this plant of love and peace alive forever. So till here we have completed today. Next further we will see in our next classes. Okay, my students, thank you.